Hi guys, welcome to the Masterpiece series. Our first week was technically last week when we watched that video called God's Chisel by the Skit Guys. But this is the first week that I'm teaching, and I want to start off with the question, what is a masterpiece? So a masterpiece is the best, most important, lasting piece of art that an artist makes. It is the culmination of all of their skill and talent and time and effort all in one piece, right? So I've got a couple examples that we're going to show you, and you're probably going to recognize most of them. The Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. The Ceiling of the Sistine Chapel by Michelangelo. Chopin's Nocturne. Beethoven's For Elise, Henry Ford II's 1966 Ford GT40, and the list goes on. But you guys get it. These are they're the greatest thing that these people made, right? They're the most lasting. They stand the test of time, is really how you know a masterpiece, right? It is everything that artist had to offer. Or in the case of like automobiles, it is everything that all of those team of artists had to offer. Now we know that God created heaven and earth and all of the stuff that's in there, but he also created us, and we are God's masterpiece. So that may seem odd, but I'm gonna jump into the Bible. We're gonna read a big chunk today. I'll take a couple pauses, I promise, but it explains to us that we are the crowning achievement to God's creation. So we're reading all of Genesis 1. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was formless, void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night, and there was evening and there was morning the first day. And God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So God made the dome and separated the waters that were under the dome from the waters that were above the dome. And it was so. God called the dome sky, and there was evening and morning the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together he called seas, and God saw that it was good. God said, "Let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees of every kind on earth that bear fruit with the seed in it." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed of every kind, and trees of every kind bearing the fruit with the seed in it. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the third day. God said, "Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years, and let the lights in the dome of the sky give light upon the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. God set them in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the fourth day. So I want to take a break for just 1 second and point out that God is creating these things and he's seeing that they're good. So keep that in the back of your mind as we keep reading. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the dome of the sky." So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves of every kind with which the waters swarm, and every winged bird of every kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the birds multiply in the earth." And there was evening and there was morning the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle and creeping things and wild animals of the earth of every kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground of every kind. And God saw that it was good. So God has seen that everything's good so far, right? But now he's about to make his masterpiece, people. And I want you to look at the difference of God seeing goodness in his creation and God seeing greatness in his creation, the creation that he modeled after himself. And God said, let us make humankind in our image according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. And when a teacher in your class repeats the same thing over and over, you know it's important. So when God does that in the Bible, I would pay attention. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. God said, see, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And to have every beast of the earth and every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw everything that he made, and indeed it was very good. And there was evening and morning, the sixth day. I look at this as kind of like a Wikipedia entry, kind of God's early deeds, right? God did this, God did this, God did this. And then it comes to people. Everything that God created, he saw that it was good until humankind, because he saw that we made everything very good. We're the best of the best, and every one of us is very special to God. The reason we are such a great representation of God's creation is because he made us in his image. He cared about every tiny little piece of us because we are like him, right? We are good like him. And don't forget that. Think of yourself as the masterpiece that God knows you to be. Sometimes we struggle a little bit with thinking that we're just not going in the right direction. Sometimes we have those feelings that I can't be God's masterpiece because I'm not good enough, right? Or the skills that I have, I can't be the best at, right? So this painting behind me is from Michelangelo's painting of the Sistine Chapel. It has a bunch of different scenes, but this here specifically is God's hand about to touch the hand of Adam and give him life. This was his crowning achievement of his life that he is known for above everything else. But Michelangelo was a sculptor. He wasn't a painter. You guys might be familiar with the statue of David. This is his most famous sculpture, but he's more known for a painting, even though that's not what he thought he was best at. So sometimes in our lives, we may be steered in a different way because of what God is seeing for us being his masterpiece. So let's keep this series going. Next week, we're going to talk about how a masterpiece is made and get a little bit more into that subject. So I'll see you guys next week.